not supporting the animations, and we are also losing the animation in Pixies.
Yeah,
So
normally the engineers check it in CATIA with real kinematics, so they don't have real animations. It's that they actually perform the kinematics inside CATIA. There are some tools to bake animations out of this, and these we could keep until Unity.
Because I'm just thinking, one of the latest updates is motion constraints, like position constraint, rotation constraint, because a lot of times cars I expect design with constraints in mind in terms of motion. So I know we support this from Maya to Unity, so it directly translates related to FBX, where certain constraints were set up in Maya, then we have as a designer or whoever has access to these in Unity. So anything similar where, I don't know if this is some functionality in AutoCAD where they can set up certain constraints that, like future-wise, that would be a great idea to start thinking, because I can see that being very useful.
It's definitely, this is Ed, this is definitely something that we're interested in adding. Like Oliver said, there are some solutions out there that provide a partial answer to this question. The issue is that the animations in CATIA are very different from the animations in Maya. The animations in CATIA are, they're mechanisms. So you can have very complex 4-bar mechanisms, cam followers, all sorts of different things. And
maybe the constraints are easier. Maybe you just start with constraints. It's a good idea, I think.
Yeah, but things like rotational and sliding constraints, a subset of those could be interesting. It may not be complete mechanisms, but it could simplify that. Now the reality is that there's no way to automatically get that data from CATIA into Maya either. Somebody has to re-rig it in Maya. So right now there aren't good solutions for that. But I agree, it's something we're interested in fixing.
And are there any other constraints that would be interesting for us to know, so we can kind of, when talking to clients, we can keep this in mind? Because as I'm still learning this, so it helps me to know what is kind of the things I can work with. And I'm just thinking not only automotive, right? Because I can see this being useful for other verticals. So I'm just like we have technical and artistic constraints. What would be kind of the other constraints next to animation that we would have to think about?
When you're saying constraints, you're talking about motion constraints.
Sorry, yeah, I'm being ambiguous here. As a tech artist, I see this as something that I have to, like the fact that we don't actually deal with animation right now in Pixies. Mm-hmm. This is something I would have to keep in mind when talking to a client or doing a project. Is there any other things that we do have to keep in mind? Because I see this is super powerful, from what I've seen, but are there things that I should be aware of further?
Okay, you're talking about limitations that we need to work with.
Yes, exactly.
So I'll answer the question, and then I'm going to ask others to jump in to capture things I missed. So I think, clearly importing keyframe animations or kinematic constraints is currently a limitation. I think that the mapping of materials into equivalent Unity materials is a limitation, and both of these problems can be solved with manual work, reanimating the product in Unity, or assigning materials manually in Unity, or, and of course Pixies can also be used to assign materials. So there are, but if an equivalent material doesn't exist, then that has to be created. I mean, those are probably the biggest things that I would think of in terms of limitations. Does anyone else have comments on that?
I have one on the Pixie side. We know that some people are creating content in Maya, for example, like complex animations and stuff like that. Definitely, we already talked about that, Ed, in the roadmap at Pixies. We don't want to handle these animations and create animation in PiXYZ. We don't want to recreate Maya. But what we would like to do is, if a user is